everybody. It is September. Well, it's October, but this is the September 2018 edition of the Bizarre Briefing.
It's already happening.
I'm joined as always with Brent Hughes.
Hi, that's me.
We got David Rowan.
What up?
Jeff Schusler.
Hey.
Hi, everybody. This is our Behind the Scenes podcast. If you don't know, now you know. This is our Behind the Scenes podcast.
And if you don't know, well, now you know.
Now you know.
Wow.
Of
Consider me informed.
the various YouTube shows like Scam School and Modern Rogue and Night Attack, which is a podcast, Cord Killers, Scam Stuff, which is a shop, themodernrogue.com, which is a articles-based website. And we'll kind of jump in on this one because it was certainly big news on our side, and we want to address it kind of up front. Last Friday? No. The previous Friday. I don't.
Guide me through it, Bryce.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the previous Friday, a woman on Twitter had come forward and said, "Hey, while John Cheese was at Cracked, he was abusing his power and harassing women online, including in a sexual manner, and they were writers or prospective hires for Crack.com, and John wrote a public apology and a statement on Medium saying that those actions did happen, and so John has stepped down as the editor-in-chief of the Modern Rogue. He's not with the website in any capacity anymore. And we have a new editor-in-chief. Do you remember his name? It's Dwayne Hoover. Dwayne Hoover.
The Rock Hoover.
Or Dwayne the Rock Hoover. That's right.
He's a good get.
Yeah.
It's a real solid get. I hope he doesn't try to cash that check anytime soon, though. Dwayne was a part of the writers forum on the Modern Rogue website where people could go and pitch ideas. And so he's transitioning into the role of editor-in-chief at this point. And we are working on clear public policy on how we'll handle situations like this in the future, and if reports come, who should they go to, how do we handle them, and
just general code of conduct kind of stuff,
right? And having a clear policy, because so much of the Modern Rogue website is it's like a lot of the stuff that we work on, right? Which is like, we had the idea to do it, and so it happened, and so we said, cool, you are now in charge of making sure that keeps happening. And unlike, say, like the video stuff or any podcast or whatever, the website, because it relies so much on freelance contributors writing articles for the site, it starts to involve a lot more people. I mean, more people have worked for the Modern Rogue website in a freelance capacity than have ever worked in any other part of the company, right? Combined, yeah. Total. And so making sure that we have a policy, especially for that part of the site, which sees a lot of new people, and there are very different power and financial dynamics, is important. And so that stuff is still being worked on. But that's an update on it. We didn't talk too much about it on any of the shows or the podcast, really, mostly because those podcasts and like the video stuff don't really intersect with the website much at all.
Right.
Cord Killers does not, and Weird Things doesn't. I think they will probably talk about it on Night Attack a little bit tonight, if only because Brian has really been deeply affected by it, but there's a statement that we put up on themodernrogue.com talking a little bit about the situation and sort of the next steps of what's going to be happening with this. But it was a pretty tumultuous weekend. And I don't want to spend too much time on it, not because it's not important, but because it's something like when it was going down, I wanted to tweet like my stance on it, but it was the sort of thing where it's like, as it became like 2 tweets, 3 tweets, 4 tweets, just as I was drafting it, it's like, okay, well, this is becoming the more I talk about it, the more I am making it about me. and I'm not even a part of that part of the organization,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to distract away from the victims and their real story and the real sort of work that they're trying to accomplish by telling their story and getting the word out. So I that is at least my stance on not wanting to spend too much time on this. I mean, how are you feeling about it, Brant?
Not great. There was definitely like 4 days where every hour and a half to 2 hours, I would just get like a swell of anxiety, depression, dread.
Yeah.
All just like a really volatile mixture would swell up. And you know, it is tough because there's, you know, stuff that happens that isn't necessarily broadcast out. Like when I spent 7 hours drafting a very long email to Brian about the whole situation.
Yeah. I did not know. So this all happened on Friday night, basically, and I did not know what happened until Saturday morning when I saw your really well put email.
Yeah. And that was just a thing where I was like, oh, maybe I'll talk about it at the shoot, because we had a shoot planned on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, well, the way that I'm feeling right now, this can't wait. So I drafted that email until the sun came up. And then I was like, okay, well, I got to go to sleep, but here's this. And yeah, it's a weird, tough thing for me, especially because we've talked about how I'm disapproving of naming things after other things.
Sure. Like specifically after people, something we talked about directly last episode of the show, I believe.
Yeah. And you know, like Night Attack is a comedy album, but it's also a podcast, but it's also like whatever.
Oh, sure. The same name for different things. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like the website is called Modern Rogue, which was just called that because we already had the name Modern Rogue and the video stuff was doing all right. So Brian was like, well, just call it Modern Rogue and it's fine.
Right.
And so when this stuff crops up, it's like a lot of like really bad energy being directed towards Modern Rogue as a brand.
Right.
It's
just like generalized like splash damage to those words.
Yeah. And it's just like as somebody who has put a tremendous amount of time and energy and effort into making the Modern Rogue videos something really special over the past however many years of my life. Mm-hmm. It's hard to not take that stuff like really personal. Even though it's like I have zero agency in the article section of things.
Right.
And so it's like, it's this really weird, like kind of defenseless position I feel like I'm put in. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's a tough situation all around for everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
And yeah, that's really tough because I think a lot of people who the site has brought in a lot, like has its own amount of traffic and people who read it every day. And I think even if you are only semi clued in to say Brian's universe of works, or, you know, if you know Brian from Cord Killers, well, you might know that there's something called the Modern Rogue, and you would probably know that it's a website with articles on it because that's what he promotes on Cord Killers. And you may not even know that there's a video side, or you may only really like care about the article side because if you look at Modern Rogue in parallel to Cracked, those are also two rather separate divisions from my understanding, is the articles and the video work. So yeah, that's a very similar thing of like, especially after you know, reading your email and getting just an understanding of what was going on. I you know, when anything sort of flares up online, you have no idea what the scale of it is, right? Like when it's not to say contained, but how much growth it has, right? It only takes it it's hard to plan if something's going to be big and everybody's going to know about it and it's on the front page of CNN, or if this is just a thing that is like a Twitter thing and it just is this relatively small thing. And so I know, like, reading that and you know, some of the tweets that Brian had sent out at like 2 a.m. responding to the situation,
Not the best.
were bad. Were made me really mad to read that response to the situation. You know, I was questioning a lot of stuff on Saturday when all I had to go on was like Brant telling me that this had happened 12 hours ago, and it wasn't, you know, no one had said anything on Slack, and everything was relatively quiet. So all I could do was say, oh, okay, so I guess this is how he's gonna handle it. That sucks, because I on a moral level would not agree with that being how we handle everything. And so I was also like pretty anxious, even though like Modern Rogue is not nearly as much my baby as it is yours, Brant. I mean, it is like a show that you very hands-on directly steer. But you know, I put that on my website. If someone Googled that and went to the second page or something and found me, like, when, you know, that's bringing it back to spreading. Like, how far does it spread? How much? And so, it was that day, especially that Saturday, was especially nerve-wracking. And then, you know, then we had started a dialogue about it, and then the letter came out on Sunday evening, and Brian made contact with the initial victim who had talked to him, and so we feel like we have a really solid roadmap for what to do next in terms of like instituting a policy that is comprehensive and has checks and is something that we can be held accountable personally for, as well as just publicly. And
because I think it's been the kind of thing where, you know, when I was hired, we had 2 people working for Brian,
right?
And you know,
when I was hired, it was 4.
Yeah, and so
3 or 4.
When you have a company that small, it's tough to divert your incredibly limited resources to developing an infrastructure that's not going to really matter until you get up to a certain size,
right?
And I think,
especially because it's not the same dynamic as an editor-in-chief position, which is dealing with a lot of freelance people and having a lot of like direct outward financial power, versus this where, you know, we are able to make creative and editorial decisions, but, you know, I'm not throwing a budget around and I'm not taking pitches from people or holding any sort of any of that power over another person in general,
right?
So yeah, that's not even something that was on the radar for what the core of the business is, which is video production or a store.
But it is, you know, going forward, that's a really important thing to have set up and established. I guess the last major thing I'd want to speak about to that is, sometimes this kind of thing happens with people who are in the media, and that can be like a really confusing and conflicting thing for people who consume that media. And you know, I think it's totally okay to say that, you know, if you read his articles and you got joy out of his articles, I think it's okay to still feel that and still feel conflicted about him as a person.
Yes.
And I think if you want to totally divorce yourself from his work, that's okay too. You know, there aren't many wrong ways to respond to it as a viewer or reader or whatever.
Yeah, like beyond the emotional impact of the news and kind of a often immediately shifted worldview of, you know, a person you look up to or occupies any amount of brain space, you know, that you have. um, beyond that, shame about how you're responding to it shouldn't be. You shouldn't feel bad for how you respond, because you're going to respond in the way that is most natural to you.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a really difficult thing to navigate. You know, because I with this kind of thing, I always think of Nick Robinson from
Polygon.
Yeah. And it was like, oh yeah, Carboys was really great, and I got a tremendous amount out of it. And then it's like it's a really it kind of sours the pool a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that's kind of a weird thing to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, if someone had, if it was easy to solve the artist and their art balance, then we would know it. Someone would know the answer, but it's not something you can solve. It's something you have to sort of personally like figure out. And even then, what is right for one person won't be right for another person. Like, I know there was a while there where I was like, okay, I wonder if, I mean, to keep it on Nick Robinson, was like, can I still listen to Cool Games Inc? Can I still listen to their podcast? And I was able to. I think the format of it was such that it was fine to do so, though the video stuff feels different, and it's not easy for anybody,
right?
You know?
Open Bayou asked if anyone thought of quitting. Well, I'll say for me, like I've always been open to the prospect of like, oh well, what if another job came along, you know, for as long as I've been working here. And definitely that weekend there was the idea of what would that look like and how does this affect that?
Yeah.
I don't think I was quite on the precipice of saying I'm tendering my resignation. Because I think a large part of it is I've spent so long like translating what Brian says into real actual human speak. And so like I was doing a lot of that during that weekend, and you know, I really respect Brian in a lot of ways, and Brian's really flawed in a lot of ways as well. And you know, I've seen Brian grow and adapt as a person since I've started working here, and I think he still has a lot of room for growth, but I don't know. To me, that was not my first gut reaction. My first gut reaction was, I need Brian to see how this is wrong, and I need him to understand where he needs to grow here.
I think for me, because so much of it had come all at once, and because it all sort of fell in front of me at once, and not just seeing it, but also the silence that had accompanied it, that it wasn't until you had emailed it that I had heard anything about it, that I had definitely had the idea of like, I don't know how much I can empower these actions, and I don't know how much I can be next to everyone if nothing happens. And so I know I was none too subtle in some of those emails, but it's a weird thing. I am with Brian a lot. Between, you know, Mondays we spend 10 hours in this room doing podcasts, and I go home and I listen to those podcasts and I hear his voice, and then we go and edit Scam School on Wednesdays, and I have to see him for, you know, 10 hours on Wednesday. And then if we go and have a shoot, and then it's all about filming Brian, and I'm around Brian a lot, and
Sure.
And I think we all have various degrees of that. Um, and so my personality is one that would rather stew on something than just confront it. Oftentimes because those issues usually blow over, or it's like talking to someone, usually it's like, oh yeah, this was not even a thing at all, so it was not even I guess maybe on some level not even worth talking about because it was nothing in the end, but I still felt a certain way anyway. In any case, I was definitely stewing on it all day instead of talking to anybody about it. And so I'm sure if I had gotten Brian on the phone, I would not have gotten to that point. But that's also, an open door policy works if you want to walk through the door. And
Sure.
And a lot of times I would rather just spend 2 hours pacing around my apartment and getting mad at an invisible Brian,
Yeah, I can relate to that. I do a lot of internalization.
Yeah.
And also this kind of thing really highlighted like how isolated I am, which I've been acutely aware of how isolated I am for a long time because I'm a hermit. But when it's like, oh, I don't have anybody to turn to for this.
Yeah.
It was a very
eye-opening.
Not even that. It was just like a very like
revelatory,
claustrophobic experience. Where it was just like I felt very closed in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you have any last thoughts on this? I know we're at minute 20 now of talking about what we thought would be rather brief, but c'est la show.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've got a million thoughts about a million different aspects of this kind of thing, but I don't know how prudent it would be to go through any of those really.
Yeah.
It's just quite the ordeal.
It is. Well, rather than make a very good segue between that sentence and the next thing, we could talk about some of the shoots that we've had lately, since the last episode. I mean, we were going to record this episode last week, and then in the interim, we filmed and released said episode.
Right.
So we do have a good amount of shoots to talk about, and we can try to keep these sort of brief. So
sure.
Like one of the big ones was cooking pork chops on an engine in a car. Whew. That was a long day. That was a very long day. I mean, that shoot was what, 4.5 hours?
Probably.
Maybe longer between setup and just like general
waiting for Brian driving around.
Yeah. But this was like which came first, the idea to do this or the being approached by the pork board, like the pork council? Big pork,
the lords of pork.
Literally big pork though. Like yeah.
I think the idea had been on Jason's radar a little bit before, but I think it was really just once we got approached by them that it was okay. I've got this idea that fits with that. Let's actually make this happen.
Yeah.
Do they not make some kind of like aftermarket car grill?
Like a griddle for your car,
or something
probably.
That you could like a cage that you could put on the engine or something.
They do for snowboard or for snowmobiles.
Why?
Only snowmobiles?
No, because you're out in the snow, and if you only have your snowmobile,
the engine gets really hot, and they've got like a thing that mounts onto your snowmobile to cook food on it.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Every time they cook on the Modern Rogue, it makes me want to tear my own face off.
I always have a conniption when we shoot any cooking thing on the show. And so it was. This was our first shoot outside at the new headquarters. Also, is that correct?
First full shoot. Yeah.
First full shoot. Yeah. Well, yeah, we'd done some little stuff, I guess. And it was overall okay, except waiting the combined like 2.5 hours for Brian to drive.
Yeah.
And how much?
Well, it was all okay in shooting it. In editing it, it was a bit of an ordeal. We had to get it in like a week early. So I had to do the episode on a Sunday and just like 1 or 2 days of editing, which is less than it requires to actually put one of these together. And that was like right after we had just done the whole thing with the LA episode, which was a whole like quick turnaround weird thing as well. And then I got it to them on Monday, and we didn't hear a word back from them until Thursday afternoon saying, hey, can you just like blur all the Jeep logos and can you just handle this and do that? And I was like, I guess.
And then even then we kind of pushed the button before totally waiting for total approval.
Well, yeah, we sent it to them like
on a Tuesday or a Wednesday?
No, we sent the final thing to them on Friday because they gave us notes on Thursday, and then everybody was just waiting around like, we implemented all of your suggestions. Can we go? Yeah. Can we go? And then just no response. And Brian was like, I'm just gonna press the button.
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, you should really wait, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Why do Jeep logos have to be blurred?
Probably because the pork board didn't want to be seen as being tied to a car company.
I don't know.
Because it's like, that's not a Toyota. We all know that.
That's true. That is not a Toyota.
It's accurate that the Jeep is not a Toyota.
It's also not an Acura.
Well, and also like a Jeep is a pretty
exactly right. So like blurring the logo, it's like I wonder what vehicle this is.
And also they verbally say that Jeep, it's a Jeep
a few times,
and that wasn't a thing.
With a G. It's the knockoff.
And I was just really frustrated because it's like we said that we were gonna cook pork in a car, and if the brand of the car was gonna be an issue,
you should have
had they told us beforehand. We could have just put tape on the thing. And so I was very, 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 very frustrated.
But overall, like the episode came out good.
Yeah, and it cut down a lot more than I expected.
I'm sure
it's like a 17-minute episode.
Did you get to try? I know I ate Jason's pork chop. Did you get to try any of it?
No, I don't eat pork.
Oh, so it came out well. It was one of those things where it was a cooking episode, so it was funky to shoot. But I took something away from it that I use all the time. So now I cook stuff in foil. So here's that.
Cool.
Speaking of food, we also did on last Sunday cooking
some burgers,
cooking hamburgers, chasing the perfect burger. Somehow 3 times as long. I guess it's a lot of prep and a lot of toppings and stuff, but this came out way longer than I thought it would.
Yeah,
it took us a long time to shoot it too. It was like 2.5 hours to shoot. As
we were shooting it, I was like, yep, this is gonna be a long one. Because like with the pork thing, it's Brian and Jason saying, I don't know, apply some heat to it, and it'll cook and it'll be done, and we'll eat it and it's done. Here, Ken is like, okay, here's how you cut an onion. Okay, here's how you make a sauce. Okay, here's how you do. And it's like there's a ton of information about every little individual piece. And then there's information about the process of doing things. I'm so glad we got that induction burner.
Oh yeah, so we
weren't shooting in the alcove like last time.
God,
it's a lot better than the deduction burner.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Or the outduction burner. It's also not a good word play. But the burger, Kent made me and you a burger after the shoot. It's my hands that grace the thumbnail for this episode, holding the burger, and it came out really well. I'm usually not like a pickles and onions sort of guy.
Oh, okay. What do you have on your burger?
Usually lettuce and tomato, really, as far as vegetables.
And then any condiments?
Yeah, ketchup, mustard, mayo.
Ketchup. Oh, all 3.
Yeah, I'll do all 3.
Red, white, and yellow.
Red, white, and yellow. If they'll do it, though. Usually I don't think to ask them to put mustard on, but I always need to because a lot of times they don't, and they won't give you mustard packets anymore. There's a Burger King up the street here that just refuses to have mustard packets. It's ridiculous. Mustard is important to burgers.
100%.
Yeah.
Mustard is the most important thing.
Well, and they always think I want honey mustard. It's like, no, I don't want honey mustard. I want regular mustard.
That's totally honey mustard is like for chicken nuggets or something.
Yeah. Anyway, the burger.
I don't
the
like
burger
condiments, so
yeah, you don't like it.
Really? You just put the meat between two pieces of bread and eat it like that?
Well, no, I love
You like vegetables.
Vegetables, onions, pickles, lettuce, all that stuff's great. I don't want any sauce though.
Interesting. I always feel like the sauce.
I like a dry burger.
Yeah. See,
did they do their own grind? I haven't watched this episode yet.
Yeah.
So they do.
Okay.
They've
got 3 different types of meats.
3 different types. Yeah, and this big meat grinder. I thought this grinder would be really loud because of how huge and apparently heavy it was, but it was super quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I thought it would just be like a vacuum cleaner, just like unable to talk at all around it. But it was good. It was real juicy. It was a real juicy burger. But so that's that was burgers. Let's see. We also had. That's right. Over the. When did we do? We just did
3 weeks
drones. Ago. No, drones.
Oh, drones. That hasn't come out yet, but I put it on there because we shot it.
Right. We shot that this weekend.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Sorry. Drones was this weekend. The burgers was the previous weekend.
Yes.
I keep thinking to me both of them were last week. But yeah, we also shot a couple of episodes on drones and drone technology. What was your sense of like how those episodes will get parsed out? Because we planned to have 2, but then the way we shot the quote unquote second one, you could have cut it into 2 episodes or even 3 maybe on its own.
I have no idea. I was exhausted for that shoot. I hardly remember it. I was not feeling great, and nobody had any solid plan about what those episodes were until we started shooting them.
Yeah.
So the first one was
spent so much time like trying to frame them in a certain way, and then
not adhering
the
to
pacing. Yeah, was completely unimportant. The long hour conversation that was held about it.
Yeah. But it was cool. Kent from Ready Set Drone.
That's right.
Came out.
No, Kelly from Ready Set Drone.
Right. Came out to help us.
He brought a lot of different types of drones, like from little toy drones that were like $60 to like huge. Was it the Mavic or the Air or something like
some of the DJI drones,
DJI stuff. Yeah. But he had these really cool, like the big showpiece for me was the goggles and the goggle technology for drones. Because DJI has like a big like Oculus Rift style headset, and you put it on and it hooks up with OcuVision, and so you get a real sharp digital signal of whatever the camera's looking at. But then they also have like an analog goggle system.
I didn't even get to see the analog one.
It was really cool. He said there was a recorder on those, so I wonder if you guys
analog system?
like analog. So the drones have an analog transmitter, and the goggles have these big like bulky receivers, and they have specific channels for them. And it's an analog signal, so it's super low latency. And it has really nice like distortion effects because it's an analog signal. So it'll like lose color and it'll get snowy and stuff. It's a cool look.
Sounds delightful.
Yeah.
Well,
you would have loved it, Brant, because it's very much on brand with the show. But I'm sure it came through on the recording of it.
Probably.
Yeah. But it's really cool like technology for like drone racing, which is a very specific sport.
Yeah, it's just the downside of analog is you have that long cable that has to go.
Yeah, a direct tie to the drone.
To the drone.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the first of those episodes is going to be totally fine. It's going to be like a basic overview of drones. And the second episode will need a lot of massaging and sculpting to get into a thing, because there were like 3 different endings for that episode.
Yeah, I could see you splitting up like the first. So that second episode had 3 segments to it. I could see, because they spent so much time playing with that first segment, that could be an episode, and then the other two be a second episode from there, because those were a little shorter, but those are also more like high tech sort of things. I don't know. Yeah. And then just like copy the plugs between the two or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but it'll take some work.
Yeah, they certainly gave you enough plugs. Brian, because it was another sort of thing where like we were in the middle of shooting and it was like, hey, we just spent an hour doing this. So in Brian's mind, it was like, cool, I'm gonna stop everything and we're gonna do plugs right now instead of, you know, the other two segments for those episodes. Mm-hmm. But it's certainly long enough where you could probably split them out and get two full episodes at least.
Yeah, I don't know.
One last Modern Rogue shoot. Justin Robert Young was in town 3 weeks ago now or so. We posted about it on the Patreon Lens when he was here. If you don't know, Brian's comedy show Night Attack is with Justin, and Justin does Politics, which is a sports show. It's a political show.
Good joke.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good. He does a bunch of other podcasting stuff. So he came down so that Brian was going to be on Ali Gertz's Simpsons podcast. Ali Gertz who's an editor at Mad, does the Simpsons podcast. Asked Brian to be on it because they were doing it here in Austin, and so Justin came down to also like tag along on that podcast. That podcast was good. I think it's come out. It's probably come out. I actually don't know. But he did like an episode on like the history of buying political elections, which is like really interesting information. Like, I think if you saw it and you knew, you know, what he said, you'd be like, oh wow, politics have changed a lot in the past like 30 years, and they used to be way openly way worse. But yeah, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, that episode will come out not this week but next week.
Nice.
And yeah, it's cool. It reminds me a little bit of
Reading a Bill.
Yeah, I had to read legislative bills where you see that title and you go, I don't know.
I don't really know.
But then you kind of watch the episode and you're like, oh yeah, this is fun. This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so hopefully it kind of strikes similar tones, although this one's a little bit more.
This was very history heavy.
True. And I'll probably have to do a lot of digging for like archival photos and stuff.
Yeah, Justin has been working on like a political history podcast for a long time, so I'm sure he can at least get you started in the right direction for a lot of that.
Yeah.
So, lastly, talking about shoots. We did a Scam School shoot 2 weeks ago. I'm gonna stop trying to guess.
I feel like a week vanished.
Right? I have no idea what date.
Yeah.
We went and had a shoot at Moon Tower Saloon, which is a venue that we've been to many times before, and it's tough to book. It's tough to book Scam School shoots, especially when the weather is really acting up. Because at this shoot, it was raining the entire time for this outdoor bar. Yeah. So you see a lot of like the worst of it in the opening sponsor for like the mead cocktails episode and the burgers episode, because we shot those ads in the rain also. But you really get a look at like how much it's just completely pouring in the background. Though it was a little better for the Scam School episodes that we shot, audio wise, right, Jeff?
Yeah. Yep.
And so how was that? Because we shot 2 Scam School episodes, and I was in both of them because it was rainy and there were not a lot of people at the bar.
Actually,
or on the street.
No, definitely not on the street.
There seemed to be quite a few people at the bar, so I was actually kind of confused when it was you and Jason, because I felt like there were plenty of people there, but it was interesting. It's the first time I've ever edited an episode that had either you or Jason in it. So,
had you edited an episode? You were not editing with us when you were on the when you had been on episodes, right?
Oh no, yeah, that was so long ago. I was only on one, and I like clammed up because I didn't really, it's kind of intimidating when Brian's like, here, do this card trick. How do you think I do this? Figure this out. Like, and it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, especially if you don't if you don't know the show very well, or if you have no experience with magic, right? Because sometimes Brian can get a little like in the weeds with how much he knows magic. So he's always like, okay, I need you to put your hand like this. This is a mechanic script. Remember that this is called a mechanic script, even though that really doesn't mean anything to you, and it won't mean anything to you when you walk out of here.
Yeah. But
then you got to do this and just do the thing, and it can be like a lot, especially for people when they're on camera.
Yeah, Jeff, you were on an episode with Allison, right?
Yes.
A card trick episode?
Yeah.
I edited that.
There you go.
That was the pirates? Or no, that was like a murder mystery one?
It's the lady something.
Sebastian something, sea shanty something.
Yep.
Okay.
I just remember the ad for that was like a BuzzFeed listicle thing.
Okay.
And there was a lightsaber because I think The Force Awakens had probably just come out around that time.
Okay, yeah. I think I remember that. I remember that because when I made a listicle ad, you were like, "Oh, I've done one before." I was like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
Mine was a little different. I think mine was different. Mine was maybe a little different. But yeah, so we shot 2 of those. The other one is going to come out this Wednesday, and I'm going to be editing it. And this will be my second or third time editing an episode with myself in it, which is.
Well, it was also interesting as we put it out for the show that in that episode, about halfway through editing it, Brian says, "Bryce, you're going to be the one editing this episode." And it was like
he calls out that I'm like one of the producers on the show, right? And so like he even says like, "You edit all the episodes of Scam. I was like, don't make me stop and correct you on that. That's so.
It was fine because you were very quick to jump in and say, I am one of the producers on Scam School, and I was like, you have to, it's fine. I need recognition.
But yeah, like the last time I had edited up an episode with myself, it was me and Roberto, I think, who run sound for us. We shot it at the Jackalope. It was, I think it was one of the first times we were at the Jackalope because they had like saved some space for us. Mm-hmm. But I just remember like editing the episode and going like, stop doing that. Like be better. And then also I was wearing a hoodie. It was like a dark hoodie, but it had like a white pull string on it. And one of the pull strings was like over my shoulder the whole time.
It's the worst.
I was like, put it down. Just look at it. Oh, it was so frustrating.
You just edit it out in post.
No, not that bad. But yeah, so that'll be coming up, and then I think we'll have some special stuff that we can talk about more next episode. Ray Scam School. But yeah, how was that like shooting that episode? Because we were like done with the first one, and I was like very cognizant of like, oh, I'm not helping the guys at all. Like I was trying to be very conscious of like how I was positioned and stuff, because I know what I usually want from people when they're on the show. But part of me was like, oh, okay, I hope that they don't, I don't know.
This one was kind of awkward in that it's because you were turning the cards over. I feel like one of the big things was showing what the card was. Like, because you're taking cards from the bottom, putting on the top, and then part of the trick is the card that is face up when you're done with your magic number turning over. And there wasn't a lot of like showing, like very specifically showing the camera, and then Brian wouldn't let you guys say the numbers because that's part of the reveal at the end. So yeah, the only problem that I had was I don't know what this lens is that Brian is being shot with, but I felt like I was running that camera and it was out of focus the entire time, because that's the one where it's like you have to, it's so zoomed in.
Yeah,
just
so
by
that's
default.
85 millimeter. Yeah.
Yeah, that it was kind of difficult to.
And I think the exposure ring on that lens is starting to act up again, and so it will open up the aperture, but it won't want to close back down.
Right.
And so when it's that open, your depth of field is super short, and so you have to be really precise with it.
Sometimes doing the electronic viewfinder makes focusing a little bit easier, but I'm sure that's probably a little bit more difficult if you're wearing glasses.
Yeah, well, I usually take my glasses off when I'm filming, but then it's, I don't know, just a whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I think the electronic viewfinder is like extra sharpened. So so when you're looking through it,
it feels easier to use. Plus,
Yeah.
it's covered in a way that the LCD panel isn't.
Yeah, so sometimes it's just a little bit easier for like dialing in your focus.
Okay.
Because I kind of could tell like early in the episode that you were that there was trouble with it, but you figured it out. You figured it out. So
Well, that's the second episode we shot, so I don't know if tomorrow
if
you're
I'm
just
gonna
going to
be
be
mad
spending the
tomorrow.
entire time. Focus, Jeff. Focus. You fuck.
I'm sure it'll be fine. So that was shoots. David,
What's up?
was this in the past week that we had the Rogue's Revenge back in stock?
Yeah. So
And it's a ball cap design.
right, we learned that people love weapons
Yes.
and they love hats. So we thought, how can we combine the two? So what happens is you take, I think it's a half pound of this material that we have no idea really what it is, but it's supposed
Spooky.
yes.
Isn't it lead buckshot?
No, it's got a higher
Alien alloys.
It's got a higher density than lead, which seems hard to believe. But
Sure.
the story that we were told was that a Canadian military defense contractor was doing some sort of research project and was making this material. And then when they were done, a vendor of ours just said, give us a truckload of it.
Mm-mm.
And then we started making the
Rogue's Revenge.
Rogue's Revenge from those. But recently, when we sent him this last batch, which is in the baseball cap style, as opposed to the cadet style like the previous ones,
Are these Photoshops?
those are frames. No,
'Cause
those are just frames from the original release video.
Were they originally ball caps?
Yeah.
I know they had been cadet style for a very long time.
Yep.
Okay. Because I remember looking at these and going, okay, these are probably the old... Because they're clearly like set up in the way the studio used to be back then, but they had been cadet style for so long that I had forgotten that it even happened.
Yeah, this might be the last time that we don't know if we're gonna try to find a material that we can replace this mystery military material with that will do the job equally well.
Could you just use lead buckshot?
You wouldn't want to use like unplated lead buckshot just on the off chance that it gets wet and leaches or something like that, and then you've got.
Is that a problem for lead?
I think you wouldn't. Lead leaching into your scalp is probably not great. So
babies.
yeah. So
Back in my day.
Back in my day, we had lead in our skulls uphill both ways.
I do think that some of the symptoms of mild lead poisoning are actually euphoria. So
people are gonna like it. Actually.
So a little bit of lead.
just a little bit, yeah,
Just a little bit.
just enough.
We'll send it with an extra vial of absinthe.
Yeah. So when we find the stuff, we'll make more. But in the meantime, we only have a few left of the hats for the foreseeable future.
Wow.
And it might be the last time the baseball cap style comes back. You know, it might go back to the cadet style next time. So we're not sure.
Brian really likes the cadet style. I don't know how much of it was just him liking the cadet style or just availability from Shomar
there's
Tack.
I would say fashion wise, like
50-50.
Well, yeah. Then the cadet style sort of had maybe a peak a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
What's
and
cadet style?
So you see how Brandt's style is more like is just like a normal baseball cap and it's a rounded dome.
Oh, okay.
The cadet style is more like a flat top, and so it looks like there's a like a tube
just
basically piece.
bring up
and a
any
flap.
recent picture of Eminem.
Okay.
And you'll see
No.
if-
I remember it because of the one that Matt doctored for that one episode of Scam School.
That's
was
right.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like
It
a
looks like a hat that a cadet would wear.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you. It's all very clear now. Thank you.
Yep.
No problem.
So
yeah.
back in stock, but limited availability.
Yes, and I think the price was supposed to go up today and hasn't yet. So
Oops.
we can.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, get on that scamstuff.com, guys.
Exclusive.
Exclusive.
So we've been. How long has the Disk Station archival stuff been going on now, Brant? Couple of months at least.
An eternity.
What's the current status?
I
know there are at least 3 drives.
Okay, so
3 volumes of
just to
drives?
give people a primer, we've got a NAS set up, and it's got like 40 terabytes of storage on it for us to back up things like all the footage we shoot for episodes and all of the
Project files
for
exports.
episodes,
Memes.
Memes.
Scam stuff like product photos and
All sorts of stuff.
all the stuff that we put on the internet usually goes into here.
Anything worth saving.
Yeah, and some stuff that's not.
Then some.
And originally I want to say it was like closer to 30 terabytes, and then we filled that up, so we got like an expansion thing. So it brought it up to 40 terabytes, and then we filled that up, and then our first step was, okay, we're going to convert all of these 3 terabyte drives to 4 terabyte drives. So we had to like take out one of the drives, put in a 4 terabyte to replace it, and then let it rebuild the system, right?
Because it's like a RAID system.
Yeah, so there's redundancy, but it has to like restructure into that new drive. So we had to do that for all like
It's like 12 drives.
Yeah, something like that. And that probably took like 6 months, because it was the kind of thing where I had to hold Brian's hand every step of the way, and it's stored here in Brian's house. So it's like, okay, every time I'm here, I'm going to check to see if it's done, and then say, Brian, you should really do this next one. And then sometimes he wouldn't, sometimes he wouldn't. So we eventually got that done, and that expanded us, a handful of terabytes. And then we filled that up. So now what we're doing is we're taking those 3 terabytes that were originally in the NAS, and we're formatting them and wiping them clean, backing up stuff that's already on our NAS, backing it up to 2 of these 3 terabyte drives.
Copies.
Yeah.
Mostly identical copies.
And then putting them in cold storage in separate locations, and then taking them off of the NAS.
Yeah.
And this is for stuff that we would like to keep around, but we don't need immediate access to.
Yeah. Old footage or old project files.
Yeah, like nobody needs footage from a Scam School episode from 2013. Until we get to the remix of that. So
now there are, how many cold storage volumes are there now?
There are
3,
but the third set is still in progress.
Okay.
The third set is mostly done, but I need to go through it and check that after this. But 2 are totally good and locked away. And it's the kind of thing where it's like, every time I'm over here, which is not very often, it's like once every 2 weeks or something, I will sit down and like transfer, like start a 30-hour transfer or whatever. And then next time I'm over here, I'll check it and see if it failed. And usually it stopped somewhere along the way and nobody noticed. And so it's like, okay, well, let me say, just skip that file and continue with this process. And then once it's done with that, then I have to go through and say, okay, well, what was it not able to transfer over, and let me restart those transfers. And then eventually I have to start another drive and do the same thing for that. And then I have to cross-reference the 2 drives, and then I have to properly label everything. And then I have to go into a doc and catalog everything that's backed up in those drives. And it's a whole thing, and it takes a ton of time that I don't have.
Yeah.
And it's like actually super important, because we do have about 2 terabytes of open space right now.
But that's still not a lot, given that our shoots can be hundreds of gigabytes.
I could probably fill up half of that right now.
Yeah.
With memes.
With just memes. That's just the meme collection, y'all.
Yeah.
That's a lot of JPEGs.
It's just reaction GIFs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like this whole big thing, and it has fallen on my shoulders because I was the first one to realize that it's really important to do.
You do live
So-
closer than me. I would happily do. I'm
You're
here
also-
a lot.
You are here a lot.
I don't know what needs to be done. I'm here Mondays and Tuesdays. If there's anything I can do, let me know, because I've done it once, with some help. So if you let me know, I can get stuff going on Mondays or Tuesdays.
Okay.
Because especially on Tuesdays, because I can get some stuff started before Night Attack starts, and then check on it 4 hours later when it's done, and then that's the middle of the night, so it will go overnight when nobody's
Mhm.
gonna mess with it.
Right.
So
But yeah, the tough thing is that, you know, it's like there is a handful of things that you can't do remotely, and you got to be here to do. And sometimes there's a little bit of troubleshooting, but you know, usually it's just like a waiting game of set up a bunch of stuff and then check on it a long time later. But yeah, it's a work in progress.
So we mentioned earlier that Justin Robert Young was in town for the Simpsons podcast / shooting this episode of Modern Rogue.
Didn't they record some sort of album type thing?
They
while he was
did.
there?
It's some sort of album type.
Nice.
Hey, you can read the future.
Look at that.
So if you don't know, Brian and Justin have also recorded comedy albums together.
Mhm.
Four of them.
Mhm.
At least 4 in terms of albums, but then there have been little things anyway.
Albumettes.
Mixtape sort of things and little EP sort of things. And so while Justin was here, they came into the studio, and I don't know what it is. I know a little bit of what it is. So one of the listeners to Night Attack, for the past year and a half, maybe more, has been doing little musical songs and little stingers that we play at the beginning of the show. And he does them every week. Sometimes he does multiples a week. And so I think he was like, I've made a bunch of this music of you guys. I don't know what to do with it. And so I think, gosh, I wish I knew more. I think that they were like recording like a commentary sort of element to that, of like, here's a song, here's us talking about that night when we recorded where he got the source material for that, or us having first heard it or something. But then they might also do just like original tracks, or they may lead into original tracks. I don't really know what it is. But I know something happened. So
Is it going to be called Night Attack?
probably, and it probably won't be numbered.
Yeah.
Great. Love it.
because it might not be numbered, just given that so much of it might be centered around Steven's music contributions. So, but we can't call it like Night Attack the musical, because they did an episode where they did like a live musical.
Just call it Night Attack Disambiguation. That way the wiki will have a lovely time sorting that out.
What I want to do is they put out Night Attack 3 a few years ago. I want whatever our next numbered Night Attack to be called Night Attack 5 or Night Attack 6. I just want to skip numbers.
4? Oh, it's just gone. It becomes legendary.
But not even get on the right track. Also, like,
Sure.
whatever. It's Night Attack 10. Like
X, but X. Night Attack XS Max.
And the XS the next year with a bonus track. Because it is like, at this point, if it's not a number, it is funny that it's off with the number. So I don't know what that looks like. I still don't know who's behind it, but there's someone in the community going by the name Horse Boys United who
Probably his real name.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Horse Boys.
Yeah. He's from the UK.
Yes, that's right. And he made like this website, and he posted this thing in the Diamond Time section of the show that was like, if the guys don't work on new albums soon, we're gonna have consequences, and we're gonna make consequences. And that frustrated me because of course they haven't been working on a new album. They're busy doing their own other things. And so I got mad on Discord, and they had to say, well, sorry, we meant to make Brian and Justin mad, not you.
Night Attack consequences. I like that.
That would be good. Night Attack : consequences.
That's pretty good.
Night Attack 5 : consequences.
Oh boy.
On another podcasting thing, if you know much, if you've been following Brian for recently, you know that his brother Jay was in a medically induced coma for a couple weeks, I think, maybe almost a month. And we had a whole episode on Night Attack where Jay came in. He's had this like really, really fast recovery from being in a medically induced coma for what is a long time. I mean, you don't get to be in a coma for long without having some serious night attack : consequences. But he came on the episode and talked with the guys about sort of what a little bit of what caused him to sort of have the initial seizure, and what his recovery process has been like the past few weeks. So if you're really interested in that, check Night Attack number 239. It's a really good and sweet discussion, and there's bits of Brian and Jay sort of like regrouping on like, did you know you did this? No. Did you know that I thought you were doing this? No. Whoa. It's more exciting than that conversation I just said. And then at the end, at the end they gave Jay a ham because the like hashtag that had come up was hashtag hams for Jay. We even made a ham emote in the chat. So Brian gave him a full was it a honey ham? It's a Smithfield. It's a good ham. It's a good Virginia
That's
ham.
a good ham.
It's a good ham. Hey,
You're very concerned about the quality of the ham.
Virginia is known for ham.
I mean, if you're gonna give a ham, it better be a good ham.
one.
Right.
So
Plus, Big Pork is watching.
that's right.
Never go half ham.
Never go half ham. Whole ham,
Yeah.
but never whole hock. Avoid the hock.
True.
I'd say like
You got to go ham on that ham.
go ham on ham. Go ham on hock, but never go full hock. Whole hock. The bit only works when I say whole hock. Okay.
He sent him a hawk?
Another podcasting thing. We held the winter movie draft last Monday, not yesterday, but 8 days ago. David and Jeff, do you guys know about the movie draft at all?
Do we?
It's a really great rhetorical question
That's
that
great.
has a very specific answer to.
I mean, we can guess.
Oh yeah,
I think it's probably something to do with films that comes into play around
Way off.
Not even close.
this time of the year.
it's about pudding.
Okay.
No, wait, that's film, not movie. Sorry.
You say the word draft, and unless you immediately say the word beer afterwards, I'm not interested in whatever it is.
Movie draft
Winter
beers.
movie draft beers.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because this is some
that's
fantasy
clever.
football, but for nerds thing, right?
Yeah, it is. So
I have bad news for you. Fantasy football is also for nerds.
that is also very true.
Touche.
So last
Appreciate.
week we held the live winter movie draft, and we auctioned off 31 films.
Okay.
And the 6 players auction bought them using fake money. And so we're going to spend the next 3 months or so seeing how these films do in the United
Mary
States.
Poppins
So
returns.
you're
Only
trying
the
to
best.
predict how much money they're going to make at the box office?
No, they are buying movies.
Uh-huh.
They're paying, so everybody gets $100 game dollars.
Okay.
And they in an auction style buy movies.
Right.
And they want to have the most earningest slate
Gotcha.
a month after the last movie premiere.
It's kind of like
Alright.
fantasy football, but
It's a
for
little
nerds.
like fantasy football, and it's for nerds this time. And this time, it's for nerds.
This time.
Nerds.
For nerds.
Okay.
So we
It
already
seems like, did you guys do this for summer blockbusters? It seems like this would be more fun for summer.
they have been doing this for almost a decade.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Or like I think it's like 7.
Who
or 8
won the
years now.
last one?
So we just had the summer. We did just have the summer movie draft. Brett Rounceville and John Teasdale were teamed up in the summer and won. They were one of the only teams in the history of the draft whose slate earned over $1 billion in the United States.
And what did they win for that?
Nothing.
A ham?
They did. That's where the movie draft is where steak bets came from. I think the idea of a steak bet, like I'd buy you a
That
steak,
sounds plausible.
and if you're right, you order a steak from one of those mail order steak places.
Okay.
In any case,
I need to start watching Night Attack. I don't know what any of this is.
I need to start ordering my steaks.
right. And so we held that on Monday. Also, like we already had one movie. We had Hellboy go from January into April, and so we had to replace that with Night School. And now we just found out Alita got moved up or pushed back a few months.
Who did?
Also, Alita Battle Angel.
Oh, okay.
And so now we have to find a replacement for that movie, and it's a pain in the butt
Should have been
because
a bigger battle angel.
a bigger Battle Angel.
A bigger battle.
A bigger. Shut up. God.
Should have been. Would have been a better movie.
So bad. So we have a really short season this go around. We're ending like in the middle of February instead of like March or so. And so we don't have as many movies to pick replacements from.
Climate change.
Well,
The seasons are shorter.
there were a lot of big movies clustered earlier.
Nice.
So,
Nice. Topical.
Yes.
so if you want to follow more about the Winter Movie Draft, follow Cord Killers. They talk about it in Spoiler in Time, cordkillers.com, or Night Attack, nightattack.tv. Lastly,
I do like this Night Attack : consequences, but just with colon spelled out. So it's just Night Attack : consequences.
Night Attack :
So sort of like Aqua Teen Hunger Force :
Night Attack :
whatever it was.
consequences.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah, Night Attack : movie film for theaters. I believe that's right. Aqua Teen Hunger Force : movie film for theater. I think that's it.
Something.
It's a good movie.
It was all right.
It is.
It's a fun movie.
I got kicked out of the theater.
What?
Watching
How?
it was on my birthday, and my dad was like, "Oh yeah, go into the movie." And I had like a couple friends, and then he was like, "Yo, I got to step out for a minute." And then some people were like,
An usher.
Do you have a parental guardian? And I was like, he's outside. And they're like, yo, we're gonna have to kick you out for fucking Aqua Teen Hunger
Where
Force.
does this happen?
At like AMC in a mall or something.
That's awful.
Like in this state?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know they actually kick people out of theaters.
Out in Frisco.
Not even when you want them to.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like,
Though the Regal that I've gone to when I had Movie Pass, they would have you could tell that they would have like an usher at some point in the movie come in, and he would even have the little flashlight sort of airplane sort of waiver baton thing, and he would look for, I think mostly for people trying to record the films, but
Right.
it's weird. It still happens. People still check stuff like that.
do you have your movie pass? Oh, speaking of
No,
which, how's that working out?
I canceled it.
Oh, okay.
And as far as I know, they haven't tried to sign me back up. Because that's the thing now, is that people whose accounts lapse because of all the opt-in stuff, they're saying, okay, cool, we're going to resubscribe you and you have to opt out, or we're going to make you keep paying
That's
us.
like some Facebook tactics. Like Facebook, you like deactivate your account.
But they keep it, and they have a shadow profile. So
Right.
yeah.
But so you can deactivate your account, and then if you wanted to delete it, at least this is how it was when I deleted it, you had to wait a couple weeks and,
To
then, and
confirm.
then specifically request a deletion.
Yeah.
But if in that interim, somebody tagged you in a photo and you like clicked that link in that email, it would log
It
you
would
back in and
undo the
reactivate
timer.
all of your. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, Movie
It's-
Pass has taken a page from Facebook.
I'm sure they need to, because people don't want to be using it anymore. Well, some people do. I'm just projecting. So Brant,
Yo.
what is this?
Oh, I put this topic down at the start of the month, and I felt like I had a lot to say about it, but now I don't know.
The
Could you
guiding
read
light-
it?
Yeah, so I I just want to talk a little bit about like unexpectedly becoming a teacher online, which was a thing I didn't expect because it was unexpected.
That's what
Oh, okay.
those are what the unexpected things are.
Yeah, and it was a weird thing because it was like, you know, I moved out here and started doing scam school stuff. Well, I didn't even start doing that immediately, but eventually I got around to doing scam school stuff, and I didn't see myself as a teacher. I was like, I guess I was just more focused on like the entertainment aspect of the show. And then it wasn't until like towards the end of editing Scam School that I realized that I was a teacher and that I was teaching people things.
Yeah.
And then I got better at teaching them things because I started viewing it more as a curriculum and having things to teach them. And then I got really into, I think it was mostly watching one day builds on Tested.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, where I was like, oh man, like we're making things and I'm teaching people about things and I'm learning things. And it just like really sparked the curiosity in me to figure things out. And that's a big component of what Modern Rogue is me like saying, oh, well, we're doing a thing about heat vision, so I'm just going to learn about infrared this week. And actually that episode went out a day late because I lost track of days of the week because that Wednesday I spent the entire day learning about infrared light.
Yeah, like Friday came around and it was like the afternoon and we were like, hey, Brant, what's with the episode? And you just hit up on Slack. It's like, oh, I thought today was Thursday.
Yeah, I thought Friday was Thursday. I thought Thursday was Wednesday, and Wednesday I don't remember.
Yeah.
So I just like totally lost a day in there, and I just remember like I was walking around my apartment doing my night walks, and I was like looking up like light wavelengths and how it affects things, and I was like, oh yeah, because ultraviolet light, if you look at things in the ultraviolet spectrum, it looks really foggy and hazy because of Rayleigh scattering, which is the same thing that causes the sky to look blue in the visible light spectrum. And then I was just like looking into phenomena, and I was looking into like how certain things worked and how infrared cameras are slightly different than thermal cameras, even though they both operate within the infrared spectrum, but the infrared spectrum is actually pretty wide, so they operate within certain subsects of the infrared spectrum. And then what is black box radiation, and how are people black box radiating things, and like all organic matter does that. And that's kind of cool. And then like humans typically radiate in a very specific frequency, and I was just really interested in that stuff, and I'm a little bummed that I can only fit so much of that into the show. You know, sometimes I'll break the fourth wall and say, hey, I'm just going to spend the next 2 minutes explaining something to you in exquisite detail. But a lot of times it's, okay, how can I tack on what I learned into whatever dumb stuff Brian and Jason do in this episode? And it's a weird dynamic, but I think to me it's really important because even if it doesn't directly show up in the episode, it helps inform some of my editorial decisions. And I don't know, it's just it's a weird thing because it's also like, you know, I'm only teaching people about things that I'm really interested in. You know, if there's an episode of like, if we do the burger episode, like I don't really care too much about it, so I'm not going to do extra research into it, and I'll just take what Ken says at face value. But if it's like some cool weird science thing, like I'm going to dig pretty deep into that. And it's kind of a bummer that I operate on such a tight deadline because it really limits how much I can really dive into that stuff, and how much can actually fit into the episode. But it was a really interesting dynamic for me because having a really good teacher does really tremendous things for you. When I was in high school, I had fine teachers, and I had a couple bad teachers, but it wasn't until I got into college that I had like really good teachers. Particularly, I had like a really great history professor, and history has always been my least favorite subject because I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's always been like, oh yeah, you remember some white dude's name from 1700s. I don't care. It doesn't matter. And it wasn't until I had that professor who like was able to frame things in the right way for me that I went, oh, there's really interesting stuff that happened that informs other things, and it's important to know about those, and the kind of dynamics between them. And so, you know, growing up, I never would have expected to be a teacher in any capacity. And so it's a really interesting, weird field for me to feel like I have stumbled in. And it's not quite to the degree of something like Veritasium or Vsauce or Smarter Every Day, which are really great people on YouTube who do teach about science and just like interesting things to them.
Yeah.
Where it's that's a much more clear and direct, hey, we're going to talk about this topic here. Let me explain something to you. Whereas here it's very much like homeschooling. If your homeschool teacher was kind of a lunatic.
Yeah. It's a grown-up magic school bus.
The look in your eyes.
Brian is Miss Frizz. I mean,
It's all you can see the gears turning.
But I get what you're saying. Like, I think in the past 6 to 12 months, I've also like sort of folded into that of like, oh yeah, Scam School is at the end of the day instructional and educational, more probably instructional than educational. But it still like requires a perspective of understanding that it's a teaching. It's a teaching medium and not just like an observing medium, right? Like you have to frame stuff not so that people can see it, but so that they can understand it and clearly take it away, both on like a direct informational level, but also a higher conceptual level, right? Like if we just had the Scam School last week on that the
Penny thing?
No, on short cards. It's a short card.
Yeah.
And you can walk away from that episode and know, okay, if I do these things with my hands, then this effect happens. But also you want to go on a more critical thinking level and go, okay, this is something you can do with a short card. This is what you can do when you have someone count out a certain number of things and you put a special card somewhere there. And so you start not only teaching direct methodology, but also broader concepts, right? Like if you know how a short card works, you can use that to understand, you can use that information when you're talking about like a key card or a one-way deck or marked cards or bent cards. Like it's going to a higher level so that you're not just teaching facts, but concepts.
Yeah, and we've spoken about this before with Scam School in particular, where sometimes, you know, Brian might be rushed for an idea and he'll understand that, yes, you do these steps and you get this effect, right? But that's not
all you need to do for teaching.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like, even if it's just like a math thing where there's like, oh, there's some kind of secret math formula that makes all this work in an unexpected way. But sometimes if you really dig down and get to like the core elements of it, it becomes a lot more interesting to me, and it helps you really develop a much more essential understanding of actually what's happening, and not just, oh yeah, something causes something else to happen, but here's why it happens in the way that it does, which I think can be very beneficial.
Yeah, cool.
Dylan mentions the Steel Wool episode being particularly helped with some kind of like direct explanation.
Because that was the sort of thing where they were kind of futzing with it, and in the moment they didn't stop to like think about what exactly they were doing with the Steel Wool.
Yeah.
where you being able to go in after the fact and say, okay, this is actually what's going on, this is the reaction, and why it's reacting differently after the fact.
Yeah, that was the one that was really important to me because it was, Brian and Jason kind of did the demonstration and they were like, okay, well, I think it kind of works like this, but they didn't even really spend that much time on trying to deduce why one thing was working and another wasn't.
Kept going through more steel wool instead of understanding or even express like maybe that's what they should have done, is just keep using more steel wool, or at least explain why they were not getting the same reactions they were earlier.
Yeah, and
that's from the starting a fire with a battery episode.
Yeah,
to be clear.
And that was an episode where when I was editing it, I was like, I don't understand how this works. I can probably make a wild guess, but I don't actually know or understand. You know, that episode, I did a lot of digging, and I even asked some of our like science-minded people to say, okay, here's what I think is happening. Does this sound at least close to right? Especially since that was so close to the lemon stun gun episode where I screwed up a part of the explanation at the end and was like super embarrassed by it. And so I like really wanted to get it right. And that episode was fun because I was like, oh, let me learn about what electricity is.
Jeff, you've been editing with us for Game School for a while now. Have you? How does this sort of intersect your like I don't know, the way you approach editing a Game School episode? Because you were doing a lot of like animations. You'd done like animation stuff before working with us, as well as some like, you know, hosting and other
I think that
different types of video.
I don't even think that I'm totally there yet as far as telling because I think that my focus with both being an animator and then editing, you know, the stuff that we did with the puppets and such on Rage Slide, which is the most complex editing that I did before I started working on Scam School. The primary goal has always been entertainment. And I feel like, you know, poor Bryce every other Wednesday has to have Jeff at like, you know, 6 or 7 in the evening, like, what do you think? And it's usually like, well, you probably need to explain this a little bit better. Or can we zoom in on this a little bit better? It's hard because I don't do magic. It's so difficult. For the thing that I find most difficult in all of this is once you've been working on the same episode for 10 hours, I have zero perspective anymore of what a person from the outside looking in would see. And a lot of times it's like, well, of course you would know how to do that thing. And it's like, yeah, because that was in footage that you cut out because it was boring or redundant. And so it gets really, really difficult to see an episode with a fresh set of eyes after you've really been head down in it for too long. So
well, and like I know we did that skit with David and Brian for the penmanship. And that was a similar thing on the flip side of the coin, where it was like I had been working on that comedy skit for so long and it was not funny to me anymore. And I had just no sense.
It's not super funny to begin with, but
some people liked it, which was, I guess, good enough for me. But yeah, that sort of thing takes experience. Because I mean, I've been working on Scam School for a few years now, but I think Brian is more liberal with calling me a magician than I would. I know magic information, you know, and I know how to teach it, and I know ways to show it,
and you perform it on the weekends, but you're not a magician.
But I don't take tips. But I you know, I don't you know, when I did the card thing in that episode of Scam School, part of me was nervous because I don't have any skills handling cards very well. I mean,
you have a mechanic script though.
I apparently I know what it is, but you know that
Pharaoh shuffle.
Okay, yeah.
Favorite shuffle of ancient Egyptian kings.
They love this hand motion. I guess. This is not even. I don't even know that this is the hand motion, but this looks.
It's great.
Similar.
That looks like magic to me.
Yeah, thousands of years ago, that looked magical. Yeah.
But you know that so it's partially an experience thing. And it just takes more time and more videos under your belt to hone. It's similar to how you want to teach broader concepts. You need a lot of direct experience to to understand your own concepts and values and the things that you think are strengths or things that you lean towards when it comes to teaching anything.
Yeah.
Little known fun fact: steel wool comes from steel sheep.
No kidding.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Now you're a teacher too.
Thanks,
now you're
Dad.
a teacher. Yeah.
Thanks, Dad. Hashtag thanks, Dad. Yep.
So one last
If
topic.
you stole the sheep, you should probably give him back.
You should give that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Good piggyback.
All right.
Okay. Now I'm on board for this one too.
Okay. We're working on our type 5.
Yeah.
So,
You still have a lot to fill out.
oh no, we're just gonna keep doing that.
It's just
More
two
steel
hermits.
and wool jokes.
Two hermits do jokes.
It's like that Vine of the dude who's talking about how the ATM wouldn't work.
Oh, I don't remember that
The
one.
ATM
Great.
would work.
It's the same dude who does. Is this music?
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah. The music. Is this music guy? Yeah. Okay. Weird. I don't think I've seen that one, but that guy's.
It's
Just
like
pull up Vine.
I was gonna say this is taking longer to
Yeah.
to explain, but yeah.
It's like 5 minutes of him saying, "But it didn't work," and he just keeps saying that.
Okay.
It's great.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
I'd watch it, but R.I.P.
Yeah.
Vine is weird because like you can still see vines, like you can still.
No, that guy died.
Oh,
No, he did.
unfortunate.
R.I.P.
One day he'll learn what music is. So one last topic here.
Oh yeah. Speaking of teachers, what about T-shirts?
Okay.
Come on now.
Nice. High five.
I'm not on board for that one. I'm
That's going into the type 5.
it's a pass for me. Dog.
Yep.
So we have quarter three shirt designs.
It's sometimes hard for us to tell too.
Yeah. And we're gonna reveal it now. Boom.
And if you're seeing this design now, or if you're hearing us talking, even if we're live, you're already too late to get it.
Oh no, that's right. Because we're in quarter 4.
Yeah, we just started quarter 4.
That's right. That's how calendars work. And but it's like a Beavis and Butthead inspired design where
Is that who that is?
Brian is Beavis and
No relation.
though I was looking at this and I thought, oh, that's a good Justin Robert Young as Butthead.
That
Yeah.
could be. Mhm.
Yeah, true.
And like in a certain fashion, that could also be Tom Merritt. Like I know Brian jokes a lot about all of his co-hosts
being the exact same person.
being the exact same person, but boy howdy, when you abstract it this far,
Yeah.
Wow. You just
it just
mind-blowing.
looks, it just looks like him. So that's coming soon. Did the last shirts go out? Or yeah.
David?
They are being printed as we speak,
Awesome.
and they will ship out ASAP.
Sweet.
We waited to have them printed so we could print them with the big T-shirt fundraiser.
That
thing.
makes sense. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Krubek says we could just change the words under here that say Modern Rogue to Night Attack and also sell them.
Yep.
I don't know how. So you didn't design this one though, right? This was
John Rubio.
yes.
Friend of the show from the Beerus. He designed this like a year ago. And then he was like, hey, you could do something with this. And then I was like, cool. Can you change this part? And then I didn't hear back from him. So I was like, okay, I'll try to figure out how to convert this to vector. And then I did it. And then the rest is history.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess
And by
it's probably-
history, I mean right now.
It's scheduled. It's actually the future. It's actually the future is now. The future is now, and it is the
it's
past
anti-history.
and history.
The flistery.
History.
You guys need to workshop this
the
type
future,
of.
the futurestory.
The future was now. Anyway,
Historuger.
so it's a Beavis and Butthead inspired design of Brian and Jason, and that's coming soon.
David, do you have any idea what a timeline for these might look like? To put you on the spot.
Well, no, actually, probably a lot faster because we're just gonna have them. We'll just have them done by our new fulfillment center from day one, and we don't have to wait for any sort of other T-shirt promotion. So once we have the size breakdowns, I would say they usually do about 10 business days, so 2 calendar weeks, and then they can start going out. So
That is much better than our usual like 3 months.
yeah, I mean, just to be safe, since there's all kinds of stuff coming up, especially
We'll just say 1 month.
Black Friday is 7 weeks away.
Oh, right.
Oh, true.
I would say before then.
Cool.
Great.
Very cool. Keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, and so if you happen to be a $30 patron from July, August, or September, check your Patreon messages because I sent a survey to you for which you should respond with your shirt size if you would like that shirt.
There you go. So that does it for normal topics. What's everyone been up to the past month or so?
Well,
Well,
I mean, you know.
yeah.
I finished The Next Generation.
Hey, that's great.
I'm so happy. It's really funny because it's like when I think about like my favorite TV shows, it's like, is it The Next Generation or is it Atlanta? Very
Very different.
very similar shows.
Well, and also both of them are relatively recent in your life.
Sure, yeah.
Huh.
But yeah, The Next Generation is so good, and it just makes me so happy. I was really bummed when I ran out of episodes.
Deep
Are you-
Space Nine.
Yeah, are you going to watch the other series?
Well, so I noticed Deep Space Nine is on Netflix, as is Voyager.
Boo, boo, Voyager, boo.
And both of them are 7 seasons, so I kind of want to take a little bit of a step back before I dive into it.
Okay.
But like the episode that really stuck with me,
Would you say this is your favorite episode?
that's hard to say.
Ooh.
It's the most interesting episode to me.
Okay.
It's the episode when Captain Picard gets his flute.
Mhm. The light within.
Yeah,
it's called?
that sounds about right.
Where he goes and lives the life. The probe hits him and he shoots an old man.
So
Yep.
it's an episode that I really disliked for like most of the episode, and the way it all came together was like this really wonderful, beautiful, violating, morally conflicted episode that forever changed Captain Picard.
The inner light.
Yeah.
Inner Light.
And it was just like, it was really confusing to start, and like it was just really fascinating to see how they approached like, what is the meaning to life? What does your life have meaning after you no longer cease to exist? Did it have meaning going forward? Is there like if you know that you're up against a wall facing an extinction event, how do you handle that kind of thing? And like, I don't know, there's just there are so many things about it that are like, oh, that's really troubling and disturbing, and how do you justify putting somebody through what you're putting them through? But also you kind of get it. By the end, you kind of go, I understand. And it's just like a really interesting episode.
What was the star date?
48,735.6.
Oh yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah.
I think that one's good. I think Tapestry also is kind of in that same vein where Q lets Picard go basically change the one thing that he always wanted to change in his life.
Yes. That's a very good episode.
Yeah.
All the Q episodes are great.
Okay.
The series finale is actually surprisingly really fantastic. And just like really cool. The episode where Worf is like jumping between
Realities.
where they say, oh, by the way, Star Trek exists in the many worlds theory. And that's real, and here's a really interesting weird take that we can have where we explore that reality of the situation. It really cool.
It does kind of like, I feel like some of the last seasons, you can see that they're kind of grasping a little bit, like the whole season finale where Lore comes back with the weird Borg offshoot. I felt like just didn't really work as well. But I mean, every season of Star Trek has like 5 golden episodes that like were just some of the best sci-fi you're ever gonna watch.
And for me, it was like I was watching them all basically stream of conscious, just all of them at once. So it's easy for me to not like dwell on an episode that doesn't particularly captivate me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, and then the episode where Jordy and Ro are basically ghosts, and they kill a dude. They push him through the walls of the Enterprise, and he floats out into space and dies.
Yep.
And that's also nobody has spacesuits. Why do they not have spacesuits? It's probably in some like closet in the technical manual or something. But like nobody has spacesuits. But anyway, they totally kill this dude, and it's wild.
It sounds brutal.
The only time you really see people die is like, oh, they got shot by a phaser or their ship exploded. But this is like, yo, they just phased that dude through the wall and he died. And nobody ever heard from him again.
With the
no wonder.
Romulans or something, where they're out of phase because of the Romulan ship, and then there's like a Romulan guy that's stalking them, and then, they just shove him into space.
Because there's like some alien race that's like, oh, we're just gonna nest in your engine warp core thing,
right?
And
it's
then,
understandable. It's nice and warm up there.
Yeah. But then they were
Probably
working.
cook some pork chops in there, honestly.
You still have to finish them off with the fucking blowtorch.
But yeah, they were working on like phasing cloaking technology or something.
Yep.
And then they think that they're dead. They're like, oh, we're totally ghosts because we just go through walls and people and nobody can hear us, until they realize they're not dead.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
And then they have to figure out how to get back. It's so good. Every episode makes me so happy, and I'm so sad it's gone. And then I started The Good Place, and then I caught up, and then here I am.
I also started The Good Place.
It's
I
a good show.
Caught up,
It's a very good show.
but so I can't.
You're way far behind. So,
Yeah,
but
I mean, like halfway through season 1. I started it like 2 days ago.
my only, and this is not even approaching a spoiler. My only thing I wish that was better about The Good Place was that it had a shorter season order. Like I think season 2 especially like drags on a little
Like
bit.
I said,
too
13
long.
episodes to 10.
It's like no, it's like 20 some episodes.
Oh,
like
I
this
think
is
the
an NBC.
first one is 13.
No, it's a
they're
lot.
They're like 14, both of them.
Yeah, it's longer. It's longer than like a 10 episode.
Like a metric 13 is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I wish there's like a lull in the seasons for me. But The Good Place is very
There's
good.
sort of just like a lull in just seasons. Not like spring, summer, fall, winter. I meant like TV shows.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially if you have like a larger season order, or
Like if it's 10 episodes, right around that episode 6 and 7.
where it's just a
You're gonna
little.
and then they're going to start ramping it up on like 8, 9, 10.
Yeah. Jeff, you play a lot of video games. Has there been any that you have liked lately?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Sweet.
Thanks. Yep.
You almost finished Kiwami 2, Yakuza Kiwami 2.
Let's see. Hold on. Maniac on Netflix is great.
So good. You would like Maniac.
I saw it.
Yeah.
It's great.
I've started watching.
It's pretty good. It's good. It's
American
cheap.
Vandal.
You can tell it's cheap.
Season 2 also very good.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was trying to think. There was another
I also got BoJack, latest season.
BoJack is good.
Right?
Actually, I didn't like this new season of BoJack. It all felt like side stories. It felt like there are too many main characters now, and they're
What
all
is this?
side
A
stories.
side story?
I thought there was something else on Netflix that I watched recently, but I could be wrong. Heat Signature got a 1-year update to add a whole bunch of things that makes that game way better.
Nice. Heat signatures are already really good.
Yeah. Absolver just got a free update where you can do PvE with people.
That's the like multiplayer Dark Soulsy, but like kung fu martial arts game.
Also added in a new combat style that's based on Bruce Lee stuff. And yep.
Just like that.
That's his catchphrase.
That's it. Hi guys, I'm Bruce Lee.
I guess it's been a month. Spider-Man is great. Go play Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It was great.
Marvel's Spider-Man.
There's just a lot. I got 3 games here.
You
Out of, like,
walked
the
in
6,
from games.
There's like 6 games that are out this week. It's like Forza Horizon, new UFC game, new WWE game. I got Mega Man 11. I got Assassin's Creed. I got Fist of the North Star, and then there's like a PSVR game.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 100 million games, and it's like this week. Next week there's like another 100 million games. So
How many weeks till Red Dead? 2, 3 weeks?
I think it's 2,
Yeah.
2 maybe 3.
I know it's close because Rockstar is actually putting out footage for that game.
Yeah. Yeah, Jason has agreed to play all the way through that game with me. So
Through that one too. I know you guys were doing Red Dead Redemption because of like a fundraiser thing you guys had done.
yeah, well, we started it on Spill, and then we got fired before we could finish it. So people wanted us to go back, and we finally went back. And then on one of our fundraisers, I think it was like 2 years ago, Jason was like, "If we hit this limit, I will play all the way through Red Dead 2 here on the show." And I was like, I think 2 weeks ago, I was like, "So
You ready to get back in?
like, look, man, I know your life is different now than it was 2 years ago." And he was like, "Nope, I'm going to do it." And I was like, "All right."
He certainly has a more open schedule.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get through Pitfall.
Oh, come on, man.
Nice.
You got to jump
Good classic
on
video
the
game
gators' heads
Yeah, when
their
they're
mouths
closed.
are closed.
They're closed. Wait for it to be closed. Yeah.
I just started Forza Horizon 4 last night. I got it on the Xbox Game Pass, which I got for like $2, which is pretty nice.
You just like pass stuff, right? You're just like
Yeah.
movie pass,
That's
game pass.
Movie Pass, Game Pass. That's right. I am not into like the full game part of that game yet. You have to play through like, well, it's probably going to be like 6 to 10 hours of like, hey, here are what the seasons look like. Here are the different types of races. Before you get into like the full open world online 30 people. Well, you get online stuff pretty early on, but like when you're actually in the like, okay, this is what everybody's season is for this week. I'm a little ways away from that still, but man, I really like that game. Horizon, like I had really liked the footage and like the impressions and reviews of stuff of it coming up to its release today or last night. That I did a thing that I thought I would never do. I upgraded my computer to Windows 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boo!
Windows.
It's been fine for now. But man, that game is good. And they have all sorts of like assistance stuff. So if you're not really good at racing games, you can turn on like, okay, hey, keep my control steady. Don't let me like spin out too much, or don't let my brakes lock up.
It's like the bumpers in bowling, but for
Kinda.
the video game.
Kinda, yeah. And they like offset it by like, okay, well, the more assistance you have on, the less bonus money you earn when you race. So if you have nothing on, you get a ton of bonus cash.
Is there a douchebag framing device? Hey everybody, welcome to the new Horizon Tour, sponsored by Surge.
So my
Race a
understanding
boat.
is that it used to
Surge.
be about like starting a festival in the other Horizon games.
Sure.
I don't really know. In this one, it's like the festival is year round, and so there's always a festival, and we're holding race.
It's a long festival.
It's a long festival. And
Is there any live
Tickets are
action?
crazy.
no.
Okay.
Damn it. They do voiced names, and it freaks me the fuck out because the main lady, there are like two ladies who will actually say your name, and so I had gotten like a prize on the spinny wheel thing, and she just goes, "Hey Bryce, you've got a city run next." I was like, "How the fuck did you know my name?" But apparently they had it in the last one. But it was just weird because it sounds good. It sounds so good that I can't tell if it's just they recorded a bunch of names or if that character is all like text to speech generation, and so it can do any name. I don't know, but
Why don't you type in a
Change your-
difficult name?
Yeah, change your name to something real ridiculous.
Farts.
I might do that.
I mean, I think she could probably say farts.
she would have. They would have recorded farts.
Yeah. I mean,
Buttzilla.
that's probably the.
But Zilla, okay, a little compounding, okay.
Yeah.
Compounding the Buttzilla. Is that anything?
Compound that.
Colon consequences.
Yes.
There we go. Boom, full circle.
Like Buttzilla.
I also it's Halloween month. Are you excited for that, Brant?
Hell yeah.
So we do have plans for Halloween stuff, but we'll have more to say about those. Well, by the time we do another episode, Halloween will have happened. Maybe
Really?
No, actually, maybe not. 'Cause,
Maybe we'll just do it costumed.
Check the calendar.
I'm costumed right now.
Well, so Halloween's on a Wednesday. Halloween's on a Wednesday. Normally we record these on the last Tuesday of the month.
Ish.
Yeah, religiously.
So there's like a 50-50 chance whether we do it or not. It's hard to say, but we will either have something to tease next episode or we will have something to dissect next episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just looking so much forward to having all the doors and windows open and like watching The Conjuring and It Follows and
Halloween Town.
Yeah.
Halloween Town
Yeah.
Part 2.
And
Colon consequences.
Colon Consequences.
The House of the Devil.
Yeah. The one movie where the lady from Married with Children was a house.
Was the house?
Oh, that's The Shining.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Disney's The Shining. Also, it's football season, and I have gotten into college football.
Yeah, how's that?
You're playing for a team?
No, I'm watching.
Yep, he got accepted.
Yeah, they took me at
Guys,
UT. Smart House. That's it, Reggie. 33.
We'll be going on Saturdays. Yeah.
It's been fun. I don't know. It's especially in Texas not weird to like football or college football. But literally everybody I've talked to is like, I just love how whole hog you're getting on college football. And
Are you following certain teams?
Yes. Yeah. I am following the Oregon Ducks. #Go Ducks. They are an okay team. I think they're ranked 18th right now.
Mm-hmm. In Oregon?
No, nationwide. And I don't know. It's cool. They have a cool mascot. He's a guy. Is it
a duck?
It's a duck. It looks a lot like Daffy Duck, or not Daffy Duck. The other one, Donald Duck.
Do they do like that slow crowd chant where they go quack, 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 quack?
Not only do they not do that, every
Missed opportunity.
Saturday on game day, someone will tweet me that GIF when I start tweeting about the Ducks.
Yeah,
it's not the Anaheim Ducks, it's the Oregon Ducks. But he looks like Donald Duck a little bit.
What's that
a little
ab
bit.
version?
I don't know. I don't know. That's
Oh
weird.
boy.
A potential redesign of the duck to make him look hot. He looks like the thing from the
green,
Shape of Water.
The green. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Shape of Water.
Now I understand why.
The green quack turn. No, Green Lantern. I tried it. That's fine. We'll edit it out.
Okay.
Workshop it.
Yeah.
In any case, I've been having fun on Saturdays with the game day, college game day. So
Cool.
that's that.
The guy does show up like against the first duck. There's an evil duck.
The Mandrake.
Mega duck.
Google thinks it's called a Nike design. Oh, Nike designed it. That's why he looks so smooth. Ugh, I hate it.
You get a mandrake because he's like a Drake duck, but he's a man.
What?
Oh, thank you.
Wait, is it a Drake duck or a Mandrake?
I'm just making stuff up. I don't know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, any other last stuff?
Mac Miller died this month. That really bummed me out.
Hmm.
As far as music goes, No Name put out an album.
Okay.
It's kind of all right.
Yeah.
Give it a listen. Listen to Mac Miller's last album, Swimming. It's really fantastic. Emerson Paak is about to put out a new album.
Yes.
Oxnard.
Okay.
Or something.
Oxnard, Oxford.
Oxnard?
Oxnard is a
Oxnard?
word. Yeah, that's a word.
Yeah.
A California town.
Yeah.
Whatever one that is.
Yeah, it's right outside of Ventura, I think.
Yeah. He's about to put out that album. Everybody's real excited about it.
That's cool. I hope it has that until it's gone, until it's done. The song that was in the Apple Music commercial. That song's on the Horizon soundtrack, and so I hear it and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a really good song. Have you listened to Yandi? Are you gonna listen to Yandi? Yeah.
I had some of his albums in the 90s. He just did that Live at the Acropolis thing.
The new Kanye album that is supposed to be out. Are you big on Condé? Condé Nast? You like Wired?
Yay.
Kanye is a very I don't
complicated.
Yeah.
We're going full circle in two ways now.
It's a whole thing. I have liked some Kanye music.
Yeah.
Not his poopity scoop song.
Whoop-de-doo.
Well,
Oh my
I love it.
God. I don't even know.
I like that. That song's kind of catchy though. It's a stupid video, but I kind of like it.
Anyway, Childish Gambino put out a music video recently.
Oh, nice.
It was for one of his summertime EP songs, and it's like wonderfully animated, and it's got a lot of the hip hop culture represented in there.
Nice.
And,
Did you see that? I guess he hurt his foot, and so he had to cancel
in Dallas.
ACL Fest. Yeah, but he was going to be one of the headliners on both weekends at ACL Fest, and they had to move. They moved some people out. Like Justice, I think, took his stage on Sunday or on Saturday or something. And, but it's a shame because I don't know.
He's a very good performer.
Yeah, well, and there are rumors that he might be stepping back from music.
Yeah, so that's been in the talks for a couple of years now. He said that his next album is going to be his last. People aren't sure if that means his last forever or his last under the Childish Gambino name. He's had a lot of conflicts with like labels and stuff like that. He's working on a project with Chance, a collaboration album, but who knows when that's going to come out. He's also got his big last album is coming out soon-ish, but he's been kind of quiet on it. But I'm looking forward to that.
Cool.
When it happens. That's probably it.
All right, well, let's do some plugs while we're here. Jeff,
Rage Select.
RageSelect.com, RageSelect on YouTube.
Yeah, put it in Google. You'll find something.
Google it.
Yeah, it's screaming in the street.
David?
Believe it or not, these are real.
I had remembered that when we started the episode, and I forgot when I remembered, I was like, oh, I hope he does it again, because I've
Having done it again, you're like, I take back. I hope he does it again.
We filled in for you when you weren't here last time, and
That's right.
we did the same joke
yeah,
for
we
you.
did the
Okay,
plugs.
okay,
The plugs joke.
What if the plot twist at the end was just like they really were plugs?
That would be
Yeah.
that would be great.
That would rock my world.
They just start to go over time. They're not taking. I'm not really doing much public-facing stuff right now. I'm really working on the store for the rest of the year. But yeah.
Well, check out scamstuff.com.
Yeah, go to scamstuff.com.
Helps out. Brant?
You can find me on Instagram at Gatawag, Twitter at Gatawag, Twitter at Monarogue Show, not web, but show. Instagram Monarogue Show. You can find me on Discord, on the Monarogue Discord. You can find me on...
The energy at the end of the, like it's more iconic than David's plugs joke.
Sure. Well, you gotta like I don't know if you know this, but our podcast is just like a little too lively. It's got like
Right.
usually people have an
thankfully
energy
it's so short.
Right, yeah. Usually people have an energy of right here where it's like their comfort level of energy, and then we bring it up to here, which for the audio listeners, I'm like doing
Higher.
double the height.
It's higher.
And people, when they're listening to this podcast,
They want it to be down here.
yeah, they can't just go from their highest gear down back to normal real life, where it's like, well, real life sucks now.
An in-between step.
Yeah, I gotta ramp it
A middle
down
place
for them.
A middle place.
Yeah, he's not that far yet. And I gotta bring it down so that way everybody can like
This is cool
transition
Yeah.
back into their normal life.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you can find me on Twitter at BryCast. You can find me on Instagram at Neshcom, Neshcom. You can find me streaming on the twitch.tv/Night Attack channel, which is where this show gets live streamed once a month or so.
I'm doing all my work with all this energy.
I know. It's keep it going.
Twitch Twitch.tv/Night Attack, where we record the show near the end of the month.
Just talking.
If you want even more about the show, you can check out
podcast.
Bizarre Briefing. You can check out bizarrebriefing.com or youtube.com/scam stuff.
My
which
favorite
is
ASMR podcast.
the video version of this show up. We try to put it out near the end of the month so we can talk about that month. But until next month, we're going to say goodbye. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.